What if I told you that the Lehigh Valley's newest college graduate is a 15-year-old who completed his college requirements while running his own company? His name is Jack Wagenheim, and while completing college, he's teaching other kids how to code with his company, Coding for Kids with Jack. He joins us today to talk about his unique journey and what's next. That's all coming up right here, right now. I'm Sam Chen, and this is Face the Issues. Good evening and welcome to Face the Issues. I'm Sam Chen. Commencements have been happening across Pennsylvania and the country, and there's all these incredible stories about people who have from different backgrounds who've overcome different obstacles en route to their college degrees. And in the Lehigh Valley, one of those students was 15 years old when he graduated from Northampton Community College, but did all of that while running his own business, teaching kids how to code. His name is Jack Wagenheim, and he joins us here today. Jack, welcome to Face the Issues.
Hello, it's good to be here.
It is good to see you. For our viewers who don't know, you're one of my students.
I am. I took Introduction to Political Science honors class with you.
And I was surprised the first time. What I love about where we are, Northampton Community College, right? What I loved about that school is you do get students from all over and different walks of life. And that was a fun class. We had a former attorney in that class. We had traditional college students, one of your classmates that published in the medical journal already. And then I remember the day you are like, oh no, I can't drive yet, I'm only 15. Right. And I looked at you like, oh, wait, what? We said this earlier. I know you've done some TV interviews, there's been brought up. There's obviously a comparison between you and Ian Armitage's character on Young Sheldon on CBS. This young, brilliant young kid. I think you are much more respectful than young Sheldon does.
I imagine.
But it was a neat thing for me, I think, as a faculty member to have you in that class. You contributed so well. Your classmates loved you. But let's go to the beginning of your education journey. At what point, look, if you're graduating college at 15, somewhere in there, you realize, okay, my education journey is taking a different path. At what point did that realization come for you?
So not that the realization came from me, but for my parents, it was actually back in preschool, because I always wanted to hang out with the adults and talk with them instead of doing the activities with the rest of the kids. And even then I skipped kindergarten as well. And because I ended up going homeschooled as well directly after that, because we discussed with the local school what they would do with me because I was gifted, or at least I had been tested and told that I was gifted, and they said we would just have him do busy work, and it would be like in Queen's Gambit, I don't know if you watched that, where she just goes to the basement and she just, claps out the erasers every day because she just finishes all her work so fast. And they told me it would be like that for many years there, that I would just be so ahead of everybody else. And so from there, I started doing homeschool. I went to a homeschooling co-op called Fireside. And everything was generally normal there up until like 5th or 6th grade. And I had all my friends there were always older than me by like a year, 2 or 3 years. And I had already wanted to graduate with them. And so I wanted to advance further, right? And in 6th grade, I finally made a move to start doing that because I was kind of getting bored with my classes because I knew that I could do more. And so I started enrolling in high school classes there through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, as a goal to, get a few years ahead so I could graduate with all my friends. And it ended up just going from there until eventually when COVID hit, Fireside shut down, right? Very unfortunately. But fortunately for me, that was kind of a turning point in my life. I mean, granted, I was only about 13 when it shut down. That was a turning point for me. And we were like, well, what am I going to do now? I'm either going to keep going with the normal high school classes, but I feel like I can do more. What more should I do? And eventually we were looking for stuff for me to enroll in, right? Because it's a bit difficult finding homeschooling curriculum sometimes, especially effective homeschooling curriculum where I don't get bored with it. And we eventually found Northampton Community College, and it was a very cost-effective, especially being dual enrolled there. We looked into it's like $90 a credit there.
Wow.
When you're dual enrolled, you get even a discount on that. And so it was a very cost-effective, low-risk way for me to try more advanced education. And I mean that's just where it started, really.
Did you enjoy your time at Northampton?
Oh, yes, for sure. And I think part of the reason that it went so well for me there is my very first semester, my very first in-person class there, I had an amazing introduction to communications professor who, because I was only 14 then, right? And so it was like, and I was like way shorter than I am now too. Yeah, probably at least like half a foot shorter than I am now. And so I really stood out and I had braces and everything. And it was like very obvious I was much younger. I like to think that now with my bit more grown out hair and, a bit taller, no braces.
So this was very much young Sheldon showing up at East Texas Tech for the first time.
It very much was, yeah. I was a bit more visually obvious than it is now, I like to think. So I definitely stood out, but that professor made me feel very welcome in the class and everything. And so I think from that point on, I felt much more comfortable in the space, and I was, at the level that everybody else there was at, and I could do all the work and I could do it very, very well. And I was very interested in it as well because I've always liked to learn. And so it just turned out immediately to be a really good fit for me.
So you graduated this May from the college side of it, but you also graduated in the past semester with technically high school then?
Yeah, so in February 16th, I graduated from high school, Mason-Dixon. That's the really great homeschooling, like certification kind of high school.
Okay.
It's like more of like a virtual high school that we just use to make sure that it's official, make sure that, I can get any merit scholarships, make sure I can still do everything, right? But using Mason-Dixon, it became official that I graduated from high school. And I mean basically every class I took at Northampton Community College got me a credit for high school. And so by the time I graduated in February, I ended with 49 credits in high school. And I mean, probably over half that was from the college.
Yeah.
And
so those credits, you were able to do it for college and for high school.
Yeah.
And that allowed you to stay on track and to finish at 15 with college.
Yeah. And that was initially the reason why we went, is because I could get all those credits, right? I was getting 4 or 5 credits a semester, whereas, it would normally take much longer to do that because, normally you would take, as like in high school, you just take one long class, or at least that's always how it was for me. You take one long class over the course of the year, but Northampton Community College and most colleges condense that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it was a lot faster.
Jack, you said earlier that you first showed up, you're a lot shorter, you had braces. What was the biggest challenge? I mean, obviously intellectually, you were right there with your classmates. But again, one of the great things about a school like Northampton is you have students from all over, all different age ranges and everything. What was the biggest challenge being so young going to college?
I mean, it was probably the social side of it, realistically. I didn't really make any friends there really until last semester in fall of 2023. When I started joining a few clubs and got into more activities. But even the first semester there, I didn't really go and do anything, which I regret now. Sure. I wish I had started doing stuff when I first came there, but at the same time, I was, I think, a lot less confident myself. I've always been an extroverted person, more so than introverted. But back then, it was such a new environment for me that I really didn't know where to go or what to do. But recently, this fall, I was kind of in a bit of a rough patch with myself. And I was like, well, what am I gonna do now? Because now I'm 15, right? And I can't really go back to high school, right? Or go anywhere, because it's I'm pretty far in, right? Yeah. So I might as well finish it out. And I started looking for opportunities to be more social at the college. And luckily the college has so many amazing, great people and opportunities there to be social that I just had never really looked into before. And so, but that was probably the biggest challenge for the first year or so there.
Sure. I mean, the other side of that too, I think, is you think about so many, I mean, there are students who live on campus, there are students who commute, but you were at the age where if you needed to stay for some activity or even a group project, you had to call mom and dad and ask if they could pick you up later. And
it hasn't changed yet. I can get my permit now, I just haven't yet, but even then I would, I'm still too young to drive. I need the 60 hours or whatever, and that, it definitely makes some of the social stuff a bit more difficult, but luckily my parents are very understanding, and my grandmother too always helped me driving there. I mean, luckily for her, it let my parents do, the activities they wanted to do without needing to spend all their time getting me, to and from. And so that I have a very supportive family with all of that, and it made it very helpful.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
What, you joined some clubs your second year or your last year at Northampton, you felt much, I mean, when you were in my class, you were a social butterfly. Everybody knew you, everybody liked you, you liked everybody. What, you said the clubs helped you with that. What advice do you give to other young intelligent students who are maybe at your age going to college that have that struggle of fitting in? What would you tell them about what helped you?
So really, I would say nothing is holding anybody back from doing it. It's a lot of self-motivation to do it. And it's definitely, I won't say that it's an easy thing to do. It's definitely tricky to manage, especially, college is difficult on its own for most people. But being so young there, I think it's still smart. I didn't necessarily get into anything my first semester because I think it was a good idea to get my footing there. And I think it's a good idea to get your lay of the land, but I've always been doing like summer classes there, even younger, the Black Rocket camps and stuff. So I already kind of knew the campus, so I didn't necessarily need to do that. But if somebody was as nervous as I am, I would definitely recommend they get a good lay of the land before they, start getting into stuff, because you don't want to stress yourself out more with that. And so I feel like it was very helpful for me to feel like I know the campus and the college and some of my professors and everything. And then I started getting into activities when I felt ready to, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome. What's next for you?
So in the fall, I'm going to Moravian University. I'm already accepted and everything, and I'm going to be continuing my business administration major, possibly add on a computer science major, maybe, dual degree or whatever, and I'll be supposedly graduated with masters in both of them by the time I'm 19 or 20.
That'd be incredible.
It would be. It's awesome. Pretty exciting.
Yeah. You brought up computer science. We're going to go to break in a moment, but when we come back, I want to talk about your work with computers, where that interest came from, and the business that you're running.
All right.
Okay. Don't go away. I'll be right back.
Face the Issues is produced and recorded in the studios of Lighthouse TV. Positively different. Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can view our in-house studio productions on demand, or watch what's on the station right now with our 24/7 live stream. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website for more information. Visit lighthousetv.org to stay connected. There you can find out what's currently on the air and coming up. How to watch in your area on cable, satellite, broadcast, or streaming devices. Watch past programs or our live stream. Follow us on social media and learn more about the station, our hosts, and our programming. Lighthouse TV, positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Jack, thanks again for joining us today.
Yeah.
Let's talk, incredible education journey. Let's talk about the business side of things. Like you mentioned earlier, you were doing school while running a company. You're wearing the shirt for it, Coding for Kids by Jack. Tell me about this company. What do you do with it?
So back at the beginning of 2022, I was coming off another job. I had been working since very young, because I've always been wanting to do activities. And starting in 2022, I was looking for something to do, and I wanted something that I felt was fun for me to do, but also felt like I was adding value to others too while I was doing it. I already had experience as being an assistant karate instructor. That was when I was like 11 and 12. But anyway, so I already had the experience in some teaching. So I was like, why don't I find another branch of teaching for me to do? And so eventually then I landed on coding, because I really enjoy coding. I'm very good at coding, at least I like to think. And that just turned out to be a great way for me to teach people in something I knew, right, that was adding value to people as well. And I think the first summer I did it, I only had like 4 people, right?
Okay.
And now I'm up to, 12, 13, 14, I think, for this summer, after 2 years, and I'm slowly, I've taught more and more students since then. And it's a very interesting class to teach, because they're all very excited about it versus like teaching, because, a lot of them are homeschooled. And so a lot of the time they don't have the most exciting curriculum, because homeschooling can be fun, but it can be tedious sometimes.
Sure.
And so especially when you find a really fun curriculum to do, like my coding classes, they get very excited about it. And I have a couple public schoolers too, coding's not taught in any public schools as well, or at least most of them it isn't. And so it's a very it's not niche at all, right? But it's at the same time, it's so niche, right? Because there's nobody teaching it for, at least as cheap as I am, as far as I'm aware.
For kids that young.
Yeah, for kids that young, that's the thing, right? A lot of the time you'll see summer camps, right, for it, but either they're very expensive or it's just not up to par. At least that's how it always was for me. I never felt like I was getting my value out of classes, but I am at the level in my coding where I can now teach anybody any level of coding really that they want to teach in the two languages I do teach, which is Lua and Java, modified Java at least on the platform I use it. And so it really is a fun class for all of my students, ages 8 to 12, as you said. And it's great because they can go as long as they want to, right? It's not like a summer class where after a week it ends, right? And then you either have to take another class, right, which starts back from the beginning a lot of the time, right? Because a lot of the time there's way more intro classes than advanced classes.
Sure.
And so a lot of the time you just learn the basics of every language if you want to do programming, and then you have to stop, right? But part of what I really like about my classes is I'll teach students for as long as they want to learn, right? I think my longest running student now has been 2.5 years plus, right? And he's learned so much now because he's been with me for so long now.
From the beginning, right?
From the beginning, yep. And now he knows both Java and Lua. We're in Lua right now. That's a more advanced language. And, that's, where people will just stay as long as they want because that's, people build careers on Roblox nowadays and it's a really great platform to learn on as well.
Yeah, that's neat. Now you mentioned earlier the age range. Your company is called Coding for Kids by Jack. You are still a kid.
I am still a kid.
When you say kids, you said 8 to 12 range?
Yeah. But I have had older students. I've had younger students. Okay. A lot of the time, my younger students are siblings of the current students, and the siblings see it, and they're just so excited about it that they just want to start. And some of I have so many amazing younger students, even then, 8 to 12, right? And then that's what's so interesting about coding. As long as you can type on a keyboard, you can code, right? Because it's just like learning any other language, like French or Spanish, right? It's just about practice, repetition, and obviously the basics of like knowing how to write, And that's really all you need to do to know coding. You just need to know how to write on a keyboard.
So it's like a language.
It's just like a language, that's neat. And it's, learned the same way. If you practice it, once a month, you probably won't get that good at it. But if you practice it once a week, you'll certainly be a lot better at it.
Yeah.
And if you practice it once a day, you'll be amazing at it within a couple months, right?
Sure.
I always try to encourage my students as much as I can, practice as much as you can and everything. But the once a week really is like a really good point. I mean, that's where, music lessons are normally, most lessons are normally once a week, right? And so and it's just, like taking a language class really, except it's a little bit more fun in my opinion.
What do you hope your students get from it?
So in the Java course, right, modified Java, I don't expect anyone to build a career, right, off of the modified Java because it is with word programming, right? But it's not like, how do I put this? It's not on a platform that people build careers on, right? Like with the Lua stuff.
Sure.
But it's more, Java is gaining a lot of experience with programming, right? And gaining kind of the mindset of programming. Okay. And then once you move to Java, then you're into the advanced, right? And that's where you can start. That's the platform that people can build their careers on, right? So by that point, then, it starts to become not more serious necessarily, but it becomes like more of a viable life option,
So Java is like a good place to start, kind of learn
Java
your basics.
On its own is a very professional language. But what I use to teach, because Java is a bit more difficult, and I like to start off my classes as easy as possible so that it's very easy for students to get interested in it, is modified Java, and it's on a platform called Bitsbox, amazing platform. And I message them for permission to use their platform for it, and they're great, right? And they have this modified Java kind of language that they use to teach normally. It's a very amazing language they've built because it's just like Java, but it's slightly easier, right? So instead of having to build a 30-line function to do something very basic, they just make that for you, right? And then we use that in our code instead. So for example, they have this stamp function, and you can basically just write stamp, then a parenthesis, a quote, whatever you want to stamp on the screen, another quote, and in parentheses, right? And that's a line. Now, of course, it gets much more advanced than that the longer you stay in the modified Java, because eventually we start to leave that modified Java, right, and move into real Java. But at the beginning, it's a very great place for a lot of students to start. But so, I expect them to kind of learn the basic ideas behind programming in the modified Java language. And then in Lua, that's really, a lot of parents will be like, well, I want my students to be set up like I want them to be in a spot where they could start a career off of this, right? And I'm like, okay, well in that case, how about, because a lot of them will have had experience in Java. And I'm like, okay, then let's move them over to Lua, right? And so Lua is really where the career is. Like if you want to start a career with it, then that's kind of the language that I start people with. Or if they already have experience. But newer students, it's great to start with modified Java. Because a lot of just like normal languages, once you learn the rules of one language, it applies to everything else really.
Interesting, okay.
Because all of the coding languages work with something called syntax, right? It's basically like the grammar of coding. And so once you learn one language, for example, the modified Java, right? Even though we're using simplified functions, it's all the same concepts. So once you do that, and once you do, time in that class, you can learn any other coding language you want to really easy.
And the rules essentially apply across the board.
It's this, they all have if statements. If this, then that, right? Then do this. They have functions. Okay, here's a block of code, and now we can call this function, right? And it calls all of that code. And so that applies everywhere, right? Even though we might use braces instead of, square brackets somewhere, or, parentheses instead of, yada yada somewhere else, it's all of the same rules.
Yeah.
And so no matter which one you pick, you're still learning the same concepts. It's just one is, more difficult than the other.
So your students walk away essentially with a leg up on everyone else.
Yeah, especially so young, because a lot of the time, and I personally am a big fan of block coding for beginners. But I think kind of what's interesting about block coding, and that's kind of where you'll drag and drop blocks to build a script. What I kind of don't like about it, I think it's a very great beginner place, but what's difficult about it was I used to do it, and it was a bit difficult to transition off of it because it almost acts as a handicap for coding.
Sure.
And so it's a really good base, but I don't like to teach my students in it because I feel like they don't get as good of a grasp on the syntax like I was talking about earlier. Because you really only get that when you're coding with real words, and you feel much more professional as well. They get real excited about that. But block coding is a really great place to start. But a lot of businesses use, word programming. A lot of businesses use Lua, right? That and Java is a real language. And so really, once they learn those in mind, they can go anywhere, right? And use either those languages or use those to build off new ones, right?
Yeah.
And so it's, all of it.
Definitely
really.
a leg up at such a young age. I mean, Jack, you've been coding for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're super young. What has coding helped you? How has it helped you in your life?
With everything, really. I feel like it's given me a better, base, logic, understanding of everything. And I also feel like it's kind of helped me enjoy myself a lot more. When I'm playing games nowadays, I'll be like, I wonder how they made that. And I'll sit back and I'll think about it for a second. I'm like, oh, that's how they made that. Now that I've been doing it for a while, and the games I play, I can start to see and everything. And it's also just been a really good career building opportunity for me. I feel like I kind of have a set goal. I want to become, games engineer eventually, have my own games business, something like that. And I feel like it's just it's really the future, honestly. Yeah. And knowing coding, especially at such a young age, is just such a huge head start on just everybody else really nowadays. And it's so great to know it.
That's awesome. I love that you do that. We're going to go to the break again. When we come back, I want to talk a little about your class, how kids can get into it. And so don't go away. We'll be right back. All right. Same for you viewers at home. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. You can view our in-house studio productions on demand, or watch what's on the station right now with our 24/7 live stream. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website lighthousetv.org for more information. Lighthouse TV, positively different. Face the Issues is produced and recorded in the studios of Lighthouse TV. Positively different.
Welcome back to Face the Issues. Jack, this class that you have, Coding for Kids with Jack, if someone's watching this and they're interested in taking your class, how can they do that?
So you can get to the signups for the class by going to itchybarn.com/kids. And that's itchy, you're itching yourself, and then a barn, horse barn, whatever you like to know it by, but that's itchybarn.com/kids. And then also itchybarn.com takes you to my Facebook page where you can see a lot of information about me, what I'm up to. Like I posted my graduation, a couple of the news outings I was on there. That's kind of where you can see everything about me is itchybarn.com. I plan to build that into a website this summer, like with HTML and everything.
Fantastic. Yeah. So people can go on, they can sign up for your class?
They can. My new group lessons start June 17th. Again, that's ages 8 to 12 or older or younger. I always like to add that because anybody can learn programming at any age. And then private lessons start anytime, right? Okay. I also offer private lessons in case you want more focus or, if you want to do Lua, that's private only because it's just more advanced and it's, when people get a bug, it can take extra time to, fix that.
More one-on-one attention needed.
Yeah, you need the more focus with that one, especially also because it's more advanced, less people learn it. So it's kind of hard to set up groups for that, but it's really great in private lessons because we also get to focus on making our own game instead of learning individual things. We actually just pile everything together and they learn it as they're building their own game that then they can publish and their friends can play it with them. And it's like all multiplayer games and it's really fun. So it's kind of a jump start, but we learn it in a way that's really digestible.
Yeah, that's really neat. And the classes, they're all virtual, so they don't have to come here to take the classes?
Yep, it's all on Zoom. As I said before, really the only thing you need to have is a computer and a keyboard, which usually come combined nowadays. Really you only need, a keyboard and a computer to do it. And we make it really easy and accessible. And especially with the private lessons, I'm really easy with scheduling with it because, I understand that everybody's busy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jack, last question for you. You're headed off to Moravian. You said earlier you're going to be studying business, maybe some more computer stuff. What's the dream right now? Like, what do you want to do?
So, the dream is to just keep learning. Really, that's it right now. But I'm also I'm publishing this week my own game. Well, maybe not this week, depending on when it goes up. It's probably a couple weeks ago now. I'm working on my own game called Competitive Minesweeper on Roblox. Okay. It's basically like the classic game Minesweeper, except, everybody's earning points against each other. When you step on a mine, you lose points, you get stunned. There's powers everybody can use. It's a real good time, honestly. It's a pretty fun game. And so that'll probably be published by the time this is up. And then I'm starting on another new game immediately after that with one of my friends. I'm busy throughout the summer. And the goal is really to just become a game engineer because I really enjoy it a lot. And it's probably I wouldn't say the only thing, but it's definitely the thing I've found, like the career choice that I found that resonates with me the most. Sure. And it's something that every time I pick it up, I'm always just as excited about it as I was the day before, even after so many years.
Yeah, that's really important too, to love what you do. And you have that rare opportunity to get to do that.
It is, especially on the Roblox, which is one of the platforms I teach, that's with Lua. It's so easy now to make a popular game and to build a career off of it. And it's really, they provide such great opportunities now for everyone as well. And it's a great platform to learn on. And that's where I started, right? That's where I started learning more advanced techniques. And that's where I plan to even start building my career on, right? I went from beginner to basic to hopefully a career on the same platform the whole time. And it's really great.
That's awesome. Jack, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure. That is our show for this evening. My thanks to Jack for joining us. And of course, our best wishes to him as he heads to Moravia in the fall. And thanks to each of you for tuning in as well. My name is Sam Chow. On behalf of all of us here at Face the Issues, thank you and good night.